Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take your sources and really dig in to find the most fascinating bits of knowledge. And today we're doing something really different, actually. We're diving into the world of Tommy, a subpersonality you've explored through, well, 3 very different drinks. It sounds like a pretty unique way to get some insights. Where do we even start with this kind of liquid metaphor?
It's pretty amazing, right? How something so everyday, like a drink, can basically be a canvas for personality traits or cultural shifts, even history.
Yeah.
So our mission today is to explore schnapps, apple cider, and switchel, not just as drinks, but as these liquid metaphors for Tommy, his whimsy, his warmth, maybe his depth, and that blend of tradition and experimentation he seems to have.
Okay.
The big question really is, what can these drinks, which seem simple on the surface, tell us about ourselves and maybe the cultures that made them?
I love that, framing liquid metaphors. Okay, so we're diving into schnapps first. And you say it's surprisingly complex. I think most people have an idea of schnapps, but...
Right, but there's more to it. It gets really interesting because it's almost a tale of 2 very different schnapps.
Ah, okay. So where does this story begin? You mentioned it goes way back.
It does. We're talking 16th century Germany and Germanic-speaking countries generally. Schnapps, believe it or not, started as a medicinal spirit.
Medicinal. Really?
Yeah, made through simple distillation. The idea was to preserve herbs, fruits, roots. Think of them like those old world homemade remedies, but, with a serious kick.
Why?
It was really crafted for practicality at first, basically to make bitter medicine taste, well, less awful.
So medicine, that's a world away from peppermint schnapps shots or something.
Mm-hmm.
How did it make the leap from practical remedy to, like, a social drink, especially in Europe?
Well, that's the fascinating part, isn't it? It evolved pretty quickly beyond just medicine. It became tied to celebration, winter warmth, rural festivals in Germanic and Alpine cultures.
Okay, I can picture that.
It's still a staple at après-ski lodges, folk festivals, weddings, mountain inns. It really embodies that sense of fun, warmth, maybe informality.
And then this leads to a really dramatic split over time, doesn't it? Because in Europe, it mostly stayed as this clear, often unflavored fruit brandy. You mentioned Obstler.
Exactly. Obstler is a great example, specifically for fruit distillates, like from apples and pears. Clear, quite dry sometimes. But then America got hold of the concept in the 20th century, and
things changed.
Things changed. It went down a completely different path. In America, it became much sweeter, often artificially flavored, sometimes neon-colored. Think peach schnapps, peppermint schnapps, those kind of snappy cocktails from the 80s and 90s.
Oh, yeah, I remember those. Very colorful.
Definitely colorful. So this creates these 2 really distinct worlds. You've got traditional European schnapps, dry, made from fermented fruit mash, needs real skill, artisanal distillation.
Right, the craft aspects.
Versus the American style.
Yeah.
Syrupy, kind of party fuel, often made from neutral grain spirit, sugar, artificial flavors, usually commercially produced, not much artisanal input.
So these 2 completely different identities for the same word almost. One traditional, one maybe more spontaneous, even kitsch.
That's a good way to put it. And the social perception reflects that, too. In Europe, it's respected, maybe a bit quaint, traditional. In the U.S., it's sometimes seen as kitsch, nostalgic, maybe frat fuel even.
Yeah.
Though, to be fair, artisanal versions are gaining some ground, again, in the U.S. craft distilling scene. It's mainstream in Europe, but still more niche or kind of counterculture here.
Okay, so connecting this back to Tommy, based on the research you sent over, this duality seems like it would resonate. How do you see Tommy fitting in?
It really is a striking parallel. The traditional dry schnapps that feels like Tommy's deep, maybe introspective crafting side, rooted, a bit odd, kind of old world artisan.
Okay.
But then you have the syrupy, bright American version, and that's almost like his chaotic, glitchy beat drop side, all funhouse vibes and bursts of spontaneous, holiday-colored energy.
I can totally see that. It's like the drink version of finishing some magical invention and then just like jumping into a snowbank for the sheer joy of it.
Exactly. The energy's lively. It's like a shot of chaotic comfort, maybe.
Yeah.
Good as a digestive, a nightcap, or just something to accelerate the social vibe, especially for winter nights, parties.
Okay, that paints a really vivid picture.
Right.
So schnapps gives us duality, from medicine to party fuel. Let's shift gears. What about a drink that feels more like, well, a warm hug? Apple cider.
Apple cider, yes.
It just instantly makes you think of autumn, doesn't it? I remember going to the pumpkin patch as a kid, and the hot cider at the end was always the best part. But you're saying the history goes back way further, like thousands of years.
Oh, much further than the pumpkin patch. Yeah, we're talking ancient Europe. The Celts were apparently fermenting apples long before anyone wrote it down. Probably discovered by accident. And you mentioned early American settlers. For them, it was absolutely vital, often safer to drink than untreated water. So, like schnapps, it really started from necessity, but also has this incredibly deep history.
That's amazing. A drink born from necessity that becomes so symbolic, like hot mulled cider. It's just so tied to autumn, harvest festivals, Halloween, winter holidays. It makes you think of family gatherings, bonfires.
That whole rustic simplicity vibe, exactly. But there's also a bit of a cultural split in what cider even means, right?
You mentioned that. How does that break down?
Well, here in America, when we say apple cider, we usually mean that unfiltered, non-alcoholic juice. It evokes childhood, pumpkin patches, sweater weather, like you said.
Right. Cloudy, sweet.
Exactly. But if you go to Europe, particularly the UK, cider almost always means the alcoholic, fermented version. Hard cider, basically.
Ah, okay. So that's a key difference.
It really is. It kind of highlights different cultural values, maybe. Coziness and nostalgia in the US version versus tradition and maybe a different kind of social gathering in the UK.
So it's timeless in its own way, super
Yeah.
trendy every fall, but maybe a bit underrated the rest of the year.
I think that's fair, yeah. Especially the non-alcoholic kind.
And what about making it? It sounds simple, but what are the core components? Apples, obviously.
Pretty much. The core ingredients are wonderfully simple. Fresh apples are key. For mulling, you add optional spices, cinnamon, clove, nutmegs are classics.
Mhm.
And making it is straightforward, too. Wash, grind, press the apples. You get that cloudy, earthy juice. Mulling is just simmering it gently with the spices. The taste is tangy, sweet, really apple forward, served hot or cold.
Okay, so thinking about Tommy again. That warmth, the crafted but not commercial feel, it seems like a really good fit. How does that connection play out?
I think you can see Tommy's warmth, that blend of tradition and tinkering really clearly here. Cider is crafted, right? But often not super commercialized, especially the traditional stuff. It feels like it mirrors Tommy's way of creating with this comforting, creative spirit.
Yeah.
And the way cider can be quietly magical, like it's simple, but then you warm it up, add spices, and it becomes something deeper that feels a lot like Tommy's seasonal introspection, finding comfort through his own creativity.
So it's kind of the quiet stabilizer in this trio of drinks. It grounds him, maybe.
Yeah.
A soother, warm, but not fiery like the schnapps could be.
That's a great way to put it. A quiet stabilizer, perfect for morning, midday, or just a cozy evening. It makes a lot of sense.
All right, so we've had the dual nature of schnapps, the warm embrace of cider. Our last deep dive is into something maybe less familiar. Switchel. You mentioned it's sometimes called haymaker's punch. What's the story there?
Yeah, Switchel. It's got a great history. It mainly comes from 17th century New England, although there might be some earlier Caribbean roots. The history is a bit hazy there.
Okay.
But colonial farmers in New England definitely drank it, especially during hot harvest days. It was for hydration and energy, long before Gatorade or anything like that existed.
Haymaker's punch makes sense now. So another drink born out of necessity.
Absolutely. Clean water wasn't always easy to come by. Sugary drinks were a luxury. And farmhands needed serious sustenance to get through the day. It really embodies that sort of rustic ingenuity. It's got tangible folk roots in American farming traditions.
And you said it's making a comeback now. That seems surprising for something so old and specific.
It is, yeah. That's maybe the most fascinating part of its story now. It kind of faded away with industrialization, more modern drinks took over. But now it's having this quiet resurgence.
How so? Where are people finding it?
It's popping up alongside things like kombucha and shrubs, part of that whole gut-friendly drinks revival. You see it appealing to health enthusiasts, showing up in hip cafes, people making it at home again.
That's quite a journey. From farm fields to trendy cafes, what actually goes into Switchel? The ingredients sound like they might be pretty basic.
They're wonderfully simple, which I think is part of its charm. You've got apple cider vinegar that gives it the tangy kick.
Okay, vinegar, interesting.
Yeah. Then ginger for warmth and spice, and a sweetener, traditionally molasses, but maple syrup or honey work great too, and then just water.
So vinegar, ginger, sweetener, water. That's it.
Pretty much. And it's incredibly easy to make. You basically just steep some ginger, mix in the vinegar and sweetener, add water, and chill it. No fancy skills needed. It really thrives on improvisation, like you said in the notes. Jazz in a mason jar.
I love that description, jazz in a mason jar. Okay, so how does this drink, this sort of humble, resilient, maybe slightly oddball drink, connect with Tommy?
Well, it feels almost uncannily like Tommy's creative loose, you know, and his
Mm.
ability to sort of thrive quietly, maybe even in obscurity.
Mm.
Switchell has this vibe of humble resilience.
Humble resilience, I like that.
It's nostalgic, it's grounding, it's definitely reviving. Like, it makes you think of actual physical work, sweat on the brow, maybe sitting on a wooden porch or finding a handwritten recipe card. It symbolizes revival, balance, resilience. It champions simplicity, self-sufficiency, renewal, which kind of fits with this modern rediscovery of older, maybe ancestral wisdom, doesn't it?
It really does. So for Tommy, it's like if nostalgia and experimentation and maybe a little bit of quiet rebellion decided to have a picnic together.
That's a fantastic image, yes. It's imperfect, it's earthy, it's adaptable, just like you imagine his creative process might be. It's a reminder that you don't need to be flashy or mainstream to hold real meaning.
Right, and it doesn't jolt you awake like coffee or hit you like schnapps.
Exactly. It sustains you. It feels more like slow productivity, long-haul creativity. Makes it perfect for, say, late morning, early afternoon, or after you've been working on something intensely. Definitely underrated. And timeless in its own way.
Wow. Okay, so from the two faces of schnapps to the comforting warmth of apple cider and now the quiet resilience of Switchell. It's pretty incredible how much insight you can get just by looking at everyday things like drinks through different lens.
It really is.
Yeah. This deep dive really shows how history, necessity, cultural changes, even, like you said, individual personality can all get bottled up literally in a drink.
It's a powerful way to think about it, definitely. And it raises a really interesting question for you, the listener. How many other things in your daily life, objects, rituals, maybe even foods or drinks, might carry these hidden layers? Layers of history, cultural meaning, maybe even reflecting parts of your own personality without you really noticing.
That's something to chew on or sip on. Thanks for diving deep with us today. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep finding those unexpected connections.